Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Solo ReacTalk. Tonight, I'm going to be reacting to a Commissar story, part 2, The Hand, made by Old Man Reacts. If you want to check out my previous reaction to part 1, remember the playlist card is going to be at the top. Just click on it and be able to access it. If you want to check out the original video as well as Old Man Reacts YouTube channel, the links are in the description below. In part 1, the Commissar has arrived to a planet that he wasn't necessarily excited about, Avathon IV. Avathon IV is an agricultural, rural planet, very calm, very peaceful, butterflies and nice trees and grass and farms, and it's not really the most eventful place to be in the galaxy. It took time for the Commissar to acclimatize himself to the place and to familiarize himself with the people, and also the regional command structures, the Imperial Guard members that are there, the Planetary Defence Forces as well. He had to become someone who is a bit more chilled compared to how he would be if he was in a hive world or he was on board a vessel, where he'd have to be continuously strict, always maintaining some sort of professionalism. But as soon as he came on Avathon IV, things slowly but surely started to change. However, I guess the honeymoon period is over. The honeymoon period lasted for 6 years. And now that peaceful honeymoon period has come to an end, he has received a message stating that the planet is going to be invaded at any moment. So he is heading back to his offices, maybe, or to his military compound, I'm not sure. And I guess that's where we are starting off now with part 2, The Hand. Okay, let's start. 3, 2, 1, go.
For almost 2 years I had called the Tauros my command tank, but now it was roaring over these fields and rows, jumping off the ground, almost flipping half the time with the pace my driver was taking. I could see the church spire in Ceres. It was already visible in the distance over the stalks of grain that we just scythed down underneath the brow of the dune runner. I was so frustrated at the lack of information on the data slate I'd almost thrown it in the trash before I left the party. There was nothing there. Nothing but this mathematical computation scaled up by the astropaths to explain what they had actually seen. I kept thinking about how old the Tauros was and how loud the engine was screaming, thinking at any second the machine spirit of the ancient vehicle would give completely out, and I'd find myself sprinting the rest of the way to regimental headquarters.
Okay, this is interesting. The fact that he received this information from the astropaths, I thought it was from like the planetary radar detection system that detected, a couple of ships coming into the system of Avathon IV, and they were heading directly to the planet. I thought it was something like that, but instead it's a message that comes from the astropaths. And with them and their way of relaying information is very cryptic and very vague sometimes. You don't really understand what is it exactly that's supposed to be happening. There's no detailed information. It's just kind of jungled up and messy. Yeah, so hopefully the astropaths are correct that this potential invasion is imminent, like it's happening right now, or within the next 2 days, or maybe the week or month. But if it's like from years from now, or it never happens, then yeah, we're just gonna have to go back to our farm living lifestyle, and yes, always be prepared, but not really that serious. Yeah. Okay, good luck, Commissar. Good luck to everybody else.
My blood was up. For the 5th time I read the report, there was only one paragraph and nothing to support it. Absolutely nothing. Jeffries, after receiving mobilization order after mobilization order and reading about gene stealer uprisings, Tau diplomatic forays, and these reports of Drakari raiding parties and everything else like it, I would have paid a Spire noble's ransom for anything more than the short paragraph that I got. The Tauros slammed hard enough into a ditch to nearly throw my hat off and myself out of the Tauros itself, but I didn't even look up from the data slate. The guardsman driving didn't even bother apologizing either. Neither of us had spoken. He hadn't even kissed his daughter goodbye as we left the party, topping out the speed of the Tauros before he even got out of sight.
There's no time. There's absolutely no time. You just have to get there to the... What did you call them? Regional command structure? Command base? Yeah.
For the 9th time, I slapped the data slate down on my thigh rather than throw it out the side of the Tauros or snap it over my knee. The only information in it was that there was an expected breach of the Mandeville point that was going to occur in a few hours. No numbers, no records, nothing. Not even speculation. And that was the worst part, Jeffries. When the best information you have to go on is nothing, your mind will literally fly everywhere. The Tauros jumped and then started peeling out onto the main road, and my mind went through all the possibilities, but each one was just stranger than the last. When you have nothing for information, the best that you can do is start thinking about literally everything. And aside from me being able to completely dismiss the Tyranids because the warning came from outside the system, the Tyranids were all I could pull off the table. You know, Shadow and the Warp and everything else like that. At least I wasn't going to deal with those things again, and good thing too.
Okay, so if it's not the Tyranids, it might be the Dark Elder, the Tau, it might be, Chaos Marines. What else? What else is out there that can kill these guys? Yeah, so far it's those enemies that I see that might be coming to the planet. Yeah. Where is Avathon IV? Where is the Varina's subsector? Where is it in the galaxy exactly? Is it closer to, the core sectors, like closer to Terra? Or is it in the outer periphery of the galaxy? Or like on the borderline of, like Tau space or Orc space. Oh yes, also the Orcs could be a threat. Yes, almost forgot about them. So yeah, I'm just wondering where they are exactly.
I heard the sirens as my drivers took us into town, and I expected to see mass panic. But instead, the streets were almost deserted. I had spent years making comments about how this entire planet had less people in it than the half block I grew up in, and even though I was serious about it, right now, for me, Ceres looked like the definition of a ghost town. What did they know that I didn't know? 6 years of living on this planet, and I thought I knew them. I thought I understood them. Jeffries, it's amazing how dark your mind can go in minutes and how much you can forget. But right now, the best I thought of the population was that they were either huddled in their houses praying to the Emperor, and at worst, they were preparing to surrender themselves to whatever was coming and roll the dice.
I'm thinking that maybe they've entered into shelters or something, They might be having some sort of like an underground bunker shelter where they just all head into and they stay there until the danger has been cleared. That's what I'm thinking.
The tires locked up and squealed, and we just pulled into the converted warehouse that was my regimental headquarters, and I threw myself out of the chair of the Tauros. The driver looked my way, but he said nothing. And when his eyes met mine, I expected to see... What did I expect to see there, Jeffries? It wasn't what I got. And it stopped me in my tracks with the guardsmen looking at me, even as the sirens blared from these pole-mounted voxcasts that were spread throughout the town. We didn't even have a proper alarm for letting us know that stuff was coming in from outside the system. It was the weather alarms. That's what was blaring off the Vox, but he just...
At least you have something,
just glared at me, and I glared right back at him. And his eyes said everything. And he was ready that whoever was coming was going to pay. And it was the first time since I read those those words, I felt strangely more secure. I snapped off the Aquila salute, and sitting in the Tauros, he copied the gesture. I made this show of crossing my arms behind my back, trying to affect the most confidence I could in my posture, everything. And I just started stalking towards the headquarters like I was irritated for having to be there in the first place. When I was walking in there, I remembered some of the lessons from the Schola. Never let emotion come through except in the heat of battle. Be a statue, be stoic, be this wall of certainty and strength no matter the odds. No matter how dire or just outright catastrophic the situation is, Jeffries, you have to be that rock your regiment can rally behind. You have to be the ideal. Even as I repeated those words in my head like a mantra, the only thing I wanted to do as I rounded the corner and saw the group that was assembled was begin violently grabbing people and shaking information out of them. So I walked into what barely passed for a war room, which was barely considered a conference room, with a holodisplay mounted on a table. I saw the back of Commander Vroll of the PDF and the regimental commander Thaddeus. Thaddeus is the one I was threatening to shoot all those times. The room itself was packed, but as soon as I was seen, they started calling out for me, and this way just parted in the center from just enough for me to move through. On the holo display, the Avathon system was displayed in bright green with the Mandeville point highlighted on the edge of the system. The Avathon Defence Flotilla, which is a mouthful of a title for the two system defense craft Avathon had, were at the Mandeville point already, and they were
Only two, and their aircraft, or should I say like fighter, space-worthy vessels, that's it? Yikes, not even like corvettes or cruisers or frigates, nothing, just... wow.
Just two little blips on the screen next to a large Aquila icon. I stepped up to the table and I looked at my left at the commanders of both the regiment and the PDF, and I put my data slate down on the table. Thaddeus was grin-faced, and I knew I was, but Vroll looked more nervous and jumpy. I didn't even think about it. In my mind, he was probably doing his best not to panic considering the circumstances. It's a thing. I walked in, and I knew before I even stepped foot in there that only with one war under my belt I had seen more combat than anyone else in the room, and all of them combined. Glancing around the table, I could see all these data slates being passed around. I could see the leader of the astropathic choir, and everybody just seemed to be doing a really good job of giving her as much space as possible. Off in another corner, I could see the red-robed tech priest of Mars. All four of them. Jeffries, there is very little on Avathon IV that requires a tech priest. I adjusted to this planet. I could only imagine how the Mechanicus had even attempted to deal with this assignment. Thaddeus tapped my shoulder. He passed me a data slate. Other slates were offered, and I just started grabbing them and devouring the contents as fast as I could manage. Everything was so tense, Jeffries. It was thick. I could feel the weight pressing on my chest. I can feel it even now thinking about it. No one really even spoke. No one was leading a meeting. The only things that were said were the essentials. No one knew what was coming or why. No one knew what was going to translate or how the astropaths had even determined what was happening. If they have a better way of explaining it, their leader was being awfully quiet about it. I don't really mind psychers all that much, Jeffries. I never have had an issue with them. But I can definitely understand why some do. So...
yeah, like I've said before, whatever information you get from them is not really detailed. I'm sure it's reliable, but it's just not detailed about, what exactly is coming our way. How big is it? How dangerous is it? Can you identify what type of threat it is? Nothing. You're just being told we're going to be invaded any moment right now.
I grabbed another data slate and I started flicking the reports. Speculation about orcs, about Eldar, about the Jakari, and another species called the Zephyr. There were 1 or 2 reports citing possible chaos incursion, but I had almost dismissed that entirely as well.
The Zifru? I've never heard of them before. Okay, interesting.
Another one I dismissed entirely were the reports on the Tau. No one had even brought up the Tyranids. All around the table, and the room for that matter, eyes kept turning toward the icon that marked the Mandeville point. I heard a Vox speaker crackle from a rafter overhead, and this woman kept on giving reports. It was one of the defense ships. The conversation went around and around the table, and I just began to tune it out. It was pointless. It was absolutely pointless to guess whatever was going to translate into the system until it actually translated. I looked back down to my own data slate, and I began to just flick my finger against the screen, just looking through report after report, trying to figure out anything. I had been silent since I stepped in the door, and now I was rereading reports that had been coming in for years, trying to just get anything. And then I flicked my finger across the screen to the mobilization report that came in right before the one that told me that we were the target. Avathon IV. I began scanning through the mobilization reports, noticing something, but I couldn't just put my finger on it. I couldn't understand what I was seeing, but Jeffries, when that coin dropped, I felt it. Without even asking for permission, I just interrupted everyone's conversation and took control of the system map with my terminal, right there on the holo display. Conversation just stopped. I just began working the terminal, just zooming out, then out again until I could see Avathon IV. And no one really said anything. They just waited for me to speak, but I wasn't talking. My eyes went back to my data slate. My fingers went to the terminal, inputting each system one at a time. Civil war, gene stealer incursion, possible chaos cultist, civil unrest, a small orc warband, more gene stealers. I input just the planetary ID, 6 years of collective mobilization reports, all of which Avathon IV had not been called up for. My fingers moved. There was something here, and like a blind man using his fingers to see, I used the terminal, Delta Tau, Graulia, the entire of the Vistion system, Radnar. The list went on and on and on. And then everybody else started to get it too. I heard these intakes of breath and curses as just realization began to kick in, and I just started to feel this dense core of just ice water in the pit of my stomach. And when I pressed that final keystroke, I looked up. I had zoomed all the way out to show the outer edge of the Sagittarius arm without even really just noticing it at all. And lancing right through the stars that comprised it, I had put out this brilliant field of green. Highlighted systems from 6 years of reports, all of which pointed like a spear through the heart of the Sagittarius arms right to the Icar system. Everyone just stared at the holo display. No one even spoke. And then I looked to my left, and Thaddeus was reaching down, and he pressed a few buttons on his own terminal. I looked past him, and Vrol was sweating. The PDF commander looked like he was about to pass out, Jeffries. And I didn't blame him. Thaddeus was displaying the dates of last recorded communications, and this dark cloud just seemed to fall over everyone. For almost what seemed like this eternity, we just stared in silence at the holo display. No one had mentioned the Tyranids. No one had even considered them, Jeffries, because it was 989 M41. Eventually, we'd have a name for the reason behind almost every mobilization report we received, and not just the past 6, but the past 12 years. Kraken. High Fleet Kraken. The entire room seemed to erupt in this noise and this just commotion, but I stayed staring at that screen. We were close, relatively speaking, but we weren't close enough. The Avathon system sat snug to the galactic south of Bremlock. We were weeks, if not months, away from warp travel, from even the most furthest edge of the line of advance.
It could be like a scouting vessel or something like that from the Tyranids. It's possible, I guess. But yeah, I still don't know who it could be.
We weren't close enough for that threat, but we were close enough to another. When I realized half the room was looking my way and everybody was getting silent again, I knew I had said my thoughts out loud, so I just repeated myself and slowly, it's the Tau. And just like that, it was almost like I summoned them. The Vox operator from the system edge called out and threw a switch. And as I stared at the holodisplay, I heard distorted screaming, klaxons, and these sounds of battle that was over before it had even gotten started, and then nothing but static hiss.
Okay, the Tau. I don't know them for being the ones to attack first, you know? I know them for defending what they have, or, you know, using diplomacy first before invading a planet. You know, they would send their emissaries first to the planet, and, you know, people who can trade to the planet first, and, you know, to survey the land, to understand the planet, try to create some sort of diplomatic communications and friendship with that particular planet, and then try to convert that planet into a Tau, you know, supporting populace. You know, they wouldn't attack out of the blue just like that. You know, they wouldn't just invade a planet just like that. That's what I've known, you know, how the Tau operate, how they do things. But this is different here. It seems as if they are, you know, heading directly to Avathon IV to go and conquer this planet, if it is truly them. Yeah. Until we actually see their blimps on the radar, or, you know, the aircraft or the spaceships in space can detect them, we don't know for sure or for certain that it is the Tau. But yeah, if it is the Tau, they're acting very, very strange compared to how they usually do things. Yeah.
Jeffries, no one needed to be told that the flotilla was dead already. I remember just how silent it got. And then the holodisplay began to make this whirring noise as it just recentered itself on the Avathon system display. The readout from the last Auspex sweep had been sent, and these icons began to just pop into the screen, and it took every bit of my resolve not to spit on the table. My teeth started grinding as I just heard these intakes of breath, these gasps and these curses and just whispers all around the room. What was coming, Jeffries? It was overkill. Town naval symbols began to flick on the screen, and everybody just started shouting and talking over each other. An explorer battleship, 2 merchant cruisers, and I stopped caring before I even started counting the escorts.
A battleship and 2 cruisers and many escorts. Nah, man, this is definitely overkill for Avathon IV. No, I think maybe something happened to their warp travel, and yeah, you know, they had an emergency exit into the system, maybe something like that. I mean, this is totally overkill for a farming, you know, rural planet. So much military might for that. Nah, there's something going on here.
Runes began to flash across the screen. I just curled my hands behind my back and I tightened the fists. My mind started racing. I just looked at the screen. While the Imperium was distracted, the Tau had come, and they were bringing enough not just to take the planet, but they were going to hold it. But Jeffries, this was not their way. Back then, just like any other Commissar being deployed to that section of the galaxy, you read the reports on the Tau. This was not how they did things. Nothing in this matched the reports.
Yes, like I said, you know, this is not how they operate. Because, like I said before, they usually send people first to have a first contact basis with that planet, try to trade with that planet, try to have good relations with that planet, and then they will try to convert it onto their side. And if that fails, then yes, they would use some military kind of influence on that planet, you know. So it is very unique that the Tau would start an attack just like this out of the blue.
It was months, if not years, of subversion with those in positions of power turned to their stupid cause. I hadn't in 6 years heard of a single visit from a watercast diplomat or anything of the sort. Throne knows I would have met the Xenos myself if only to put a bolter in their face with instructions to leave the Emperor's domain. This was back before I really understood them. I turned away from the screen and I looked over the room to distance myself from the situation, to try to think clearly. The force they were bringing, it was obvious they wanted this over fast and they didn't want a protracted engagement, but direct invasion, that was just not their way. Even with a world population as small as this one, they would have at least turned... Vrol was gone. I blinked and then snapped my head to where he'd been standing only a few seconds before. Commander Vrol was not in the room.
Probably is panicking somewhere, you know, because you've been talking about him, Commissar, saying that he looked, pale, he was sweating, he looked like he was about to faint. So probably the guy just left just to have a breather, and then he would return. Yeah, poor guy.
He was gone. I spun around. My eyes started looking around the room. Ice water hits my veins and it chills my blood until it just starts running cold in my heart. Jeffries, there's no sign of him. There's no sign of him.
Wait, why are you panicking though? What is it, Commissar? What are you thinking about?
My eyes are looking around. The noise of the command center just dulls into a roar. I know, Jeffries. I know! The regimental commander's looking at me. He's nervous. My eyes are wide. I'm breathing hard. I'm the center of attention now. Everybody's looking at me, but I'm looking everywhere else. My stomach lurches. I can see what's about to happen. The Magus Tech Magos, the regiment's entire command staff, most of the civil defense staff, the leader of the Astropaths, all in this room. And right there, standing at the end of the table, crying as he looks at the holodisplay, at the war that is to come, is the planetary governor. Every major player in the defense of this world is standing here, now, in this room. Clear the room! I yell it as I grab hold of the collar of the regimental commander. I'm yanking them, half dragging them out the door. Jeffries? Jeffries? I feel heat. And
wait, was that an explosion? Oh my gosh. And the Commissar was talking about everyone was in that room. Everyone was in that room. Anyone that was important, that was powerful, that had the military authority, they were in that room. Yikes. And now there's an explosion. Wait, where's the PDF officer? Where is he? No, you don't think that he betrayed, do you? No. Is that even possible? How would he have had the communications with the Tau to do something like that?
When? Am I alive? Am I alive? Pain. Nothing but pain. I have to get up. Move, damn it, move. I can't hear. I can't hear. I grab hold of Thaddeus's coat. I gotta get him out. But my feet won't stay. I can't get up. Fracking pain. I see figures coming through the smoke. Voices. Traitors coming to make sure the job is done. Damn it, Commissar, move your ass! Visions going, hands Hands are coming. Traitors! I'm being dragged by both arms. I can't take control of myself. Fight back! Voices shouting. My eyes are barely open. I see guns everywhere. Sunlight. I see how it is now. Drag a symbol of Imperial authority and execute them in broad daylight for the whole fucking world to see. I'd spit on them if I could lift my fucking head. I'd piss on them for the traitor swine they are. What are they saying? Who are they? I'm being put in the Tauros by civilians? I taste water, and it's cold water. My attention's coming back. I look around. I shake my head. I'm trying to clear this fog that tries to close in on me. I'm trying not to pass out. This woman leans over me, and I'm half slumped in the passenger seat of the Tauros. I hear her call out for others, and I'm looking at her. My ears, they're just finally stopping that ringing, and I can focus. She hands me another cup of water, and I drink it, and only then do I notice the guardsman who drove me, and he's on the shortwave Vox, and he's talking. He looks relieved, and he's telling whoever's listening that I'm alive. I reach out and I grab the Vox transmitter. Get 2 squads and get to the astropathic wire! I scream into the receiver, and I can't believe how hoarse I sound. Evacuate them if they're still alive, and if anyone sees Commander Vrall, shoot him on sight! I almost collapse back in the chair, and I only yank myself up. I almost instantly fall over. Thaddeus, I have to see if Thaddeus is still alive.
I'm still kind of surprised, how Commander Vrall could have done any of this. How could he have had communication with the Tau? I mean, any type of operative from the Tau that would come to Avathon IV, they would have detected the ship, right? They would have detected the ship if it was coming in and it landed on the planet. The commander of the PDF is very important. He's not just someone who can just walk away, go to some sort of forest and start making a discussion with someone in the shadows, So, yeah, it's just interesting that such a high-ranking commanding officer is the one who's betraying the Imperium of Man, betraying the people of Avathon IV, and is in cahoots with the Tau. I'm still trying to ascertain how was that possible. Or maybe he left the planet for a holiday one time and, the Tau were able to intercept his shuttle or wherever he was enjoying a holiday on a different planet, and then, they had their discussions there. Yeah. It's just very interesting. Huh. Okay.
I feel an arm slide underneath me, and I see the eyes again. There they are. And I'm throwing my arm around the shoulder of their owner. Myself and the guardsmen, we move back to the smoking ruin of the regimental headquarters. I can't believe it. My eyes are just wide, just for a second before I get control of myself as I see just the scale of the destruction, and I just focus in again. I start glancing around, and I almost draw my bolt gun on reflex when I see how many armed civilians are around us until I see them running into the building.
Yeah, the civilians have really surprised me, They are so organized. When there is an emergency, when there's an alert, they stay in their homes or wherever they were, for protection. And now that there's been this terror attack on the regional command center, they all come to the place to assist in terms of getting people who've survived from the explosion, try to douse the flames from the destruction of the building. They're very organized. There's no panic. There is no, just confusion and mass hysteria. Everyone seems to be knowing what they should be doing, how they should be doing it. And there's even civilians out here carrying weapons. So yeah, this planet or this town of Ceres is really organized. Very good.
I squeeze hold of the guardsman's shoulders and I stop moving and I just set in my jaw because I see bodies. I recognize what was once Thaddeus. It's just pieces. I see what looks to be this broken toy laying a few feet away from what's left of him, and it's the tech majors, Jeffries. I honestly don't know, and I never have figured out how I wasn't lying right there with them. Have they pulled anyone outside alive? I ask, and I actually succeed in making the question as natural as possible. The guardsman points, and I see an acolyte of the machine god staring out into the street below at this growing crowd of armed civilians.
Where is the planetary governor? Is he dead too? Yikes. Man, they really tried to decapitate the head of, the leadership structure on this planet. And I would say they succeeded. I mean, he's the only one left right now who has any form of, senior level command structure on the planet. And that's the Commissar. Everyone else seems to be dead. Or traitor, turned traitor, as in the PDF commander. Yeah.
Thrown at the amount of them, and all of them with weapons either slung over shoulder or bared, but surprisingly, and thank the throne, none of them were pointed at me. Typically, Jeffries, you're warned at least 50 times at the school to watch out for any signs of treachery inside your regiment. In almost every case recorded, the first one to be killed if a regiment or world starts to turn against their oaths, that would be the Commissar. As soon as the blast went off, I I was convinced anyone coming out of that smoke was coming to finish off where the bomb had started. I pulled my way away from the guardsman, and I half walk, half limped over to the red-robed acolyte that was still alive. Are you injured, tech priest? The adept was young, shockingly young. He was barely modified in the way the cog boys tend to do themselves. He just had a lone mechadendrite coiled around his waist. He couldn't be more than 20 standard Terran years.
No, I am operational. I am not damaged.
He mutters.
It's still a kid. Oh gosh.
I would only learn after years of knowing him that the Majors, as well as two others, had been standing between him and the blast and had absorbed nearly all of it. We didn't have time to count our blessings on this, though. If my own arrival from the Mandeville point when I translated a system all those years ago had been any judge, we only had 4 days until the Tau would be able to start landing troops. Tech priest!
Phasion. I am called Phasion, Commissar.
The acolyte interrupts me, but he's still staring at the same spot he had before I even stepped near him. Tech priest Phasion. He turns to me, and I just remember the look in his eye. He looked as stunned as I felt.
What happened in there, Commissar?
He says it more than he asks, and he gestures with his head back toward the fire and the smoke to the building that's burning down behind us. We both look. Civilians and more members of the regiment who are showing up are running in and out of the building. Some are coming out coughing, others are coming out in tears, and others are dragging what's left of the people that were in there. I take a breath and I steady myself and I wall myself off from all of it. Apparently Commander Vroll of the PDF has turned traitor, and judging by the fact we aren't knee-deep in PDF troopers gunning everyone down, his list of allies is short. Thank him on Terra for that.
Yeah, no, but guys, that is so strange. That is very strange. I mean, to do something like this, you would need more than one person. You know, the PDF commander can't just do this all by himself. Or maybe it is possible, but I just find it so hard to believe that the PDF commander would do this and that he would do this all by himself, you know? Because if he is a spy, he should be having others in his close-knit circle that would assist him in commencing these types of operations. And just like what the Commissar just said, that after the explosion, you would expect probably someone to stay behind to try and finish the job, if someone is still alive. So yeah, if this was really done by the PDF commander, right, then I'm sure he had help from the PDF soldiers, maybe some of his close lieutenants. Those are the first suspects you should also get to first, just to try and get a hang of this situation. Because I just find it very hard to believe that he did this all by himself.
I tell that to the young acolyte, and I pause before I continue. He intended to decapitate the planet. I didn't bother telling the tech priest that the treacherous bastard had been successful. Why state the obvious?
Oh.
That was the only reply I got from the tech priest. We stood in silence for a few minutes, actually. We have 4 days, Phasian. I didn't know what else to tell him.
What is needed?
Phasian asked. His voice was flat, and I noticed his gaze just had come to rest on the tech magos. I looked down at my own self, and I'm seeing it for the first time. I see all the burn marks and ash on my greatcoat, on my sash, and I start trying to brush it off, but it won't come off. I look up and I see the looks on the civilians' faces. I expected fear, Jeffries. I expected anxiety. Maybe I even expected people to be glancing my way, getting these funny little ideas in their head. Did they know what we were going to be facing? When the town demanded surrender, how many of them would throw down their weapons? But I couldn't believe it when I looked at their faces. All I saw was just pure anger, Jeffries. That's the only thing that I can say. Pure, white-hot anger. Even the people that were sobbing almost hysterically. The look on their face.
The only good Tau is a dead Tau.
I didn't think it was possible. What is needed? I repeated the words the tech priest had said to me. A place to coordinate outside the city would be a really good start. I suddenly hear a lot of shouting from my left, and I turn my head, and I look down one of the side streets. There's a man being dragged by the feet out of the side of a civilian transport truck, quite literally kicking and screaming by 2 of my troopers, and he was being followed by a growing mass of pissed-off-looking civilians. All I could do was sneer.
You'll have it.
Phasian still just stood there motionless, but I was already stalking towards my troopers. I recognized my troopers, Kolo and Viserius, but my eyes were on the uniformed form of the PDF commander, Commander Vroll, whose uniform was now much worse for wear. I yanked my bolter out of its holster, flipping the safety off. Vroll was shouting curses as he was being dragged, up until the point he saw me, and I must have cut quite the sight. I hadn't seen myself in the mirror yet, Jeffries. Blood was caked on my face like a mask. My greatcoat was covered in ash and the gore of those that had been in the room with me. Kolo and Viserius stopped a few feet away, and they just dropped him like a sack of potatoes on the ground.
Astropathic Choir was secured. Some of the boys were already there trying to get some word.
Kolo finished his report and looked at Vroll.
Jarek had the Vox on. Right when you said to secure the choir, look who shows up in a speeder!
Viserius then just motioned to the truck they had pulled the PDF commander from.
And we got the las gun and a few frag grenades he got out of the speeder back there.
I believe my order was to shoot him! I glared down at Vroll. Vroll was breathing hard, holding up his hand as if he could ward me off.
Let me explain.
Wow, guys. Hi. All right. that was a good episode. Good part. Good part 2 of the Commissar story. A Commissar story. Part 2, The Hand, made by Old Man Reacts. And yeah, I'm shocked. I'm really shocked that the PDF, commanding officer is the one who is behind, the explosion in the regional command offices, I'm just surprised that he is just doing this all by himself. And probably the Commissar shouldn't have killed the PDF commander just yet. Maybe he should have interrogated the PDF commanding officer, just to try to ascertain some information about who else is working with you. How are you getting communications with the Tau? Why have you turned traitor? And then you can kill him. But we need to extract as much information as possible from this person, so that, should there be anything else that we are missing, we're able to neutralize that threat before it becomes a very serious problem for the command structures of the PDF, as well as the what do they call them again? The Imperial Guard. Yes. But yeah, the threat has been neutralized, and I guess that's also just important. The town of Ceres, how they have organized themselves, either when they had to, evacuate into shelters, or to try and help and rescue the people from the destroyed headquarters. I'm really impressed. I'm really impressed by the people of this town. How they've organized themselves, how they are, carrying weapons, but there's high discipline, there's high morale, even through this devastating attack. They are keeping themselves quite organized and disciplined, and together with the Imperial Guard and those who are civilians, or maybe even Planetary Defence Forces members who are there helping out, clear the rubble, getting these people out into safety. Very organized. And yeah, the people of Avathon IV are very good in terms of their mentality, especially when dealing with something as serious as this, because in large population centers like cities, if there's a terrorist attack, or if there's some sort of bomb and an explosion, or there's a fire, people just go hysterical. They start blubbering nonsense out of nowhere. Some start attacking stores and stealing electronical devices. Others are just doing utter chaos just for the sake of it, because there's this large disturbance in the city, in terms of a terrorist attack or something else that's happening. So yes, I'm very impressed with the population of this town. And yes, the command structure of the planet has been decapitated. There's only one person left with any kind of high-ranking official status, and that is the Commissar. And the Tau are heading to the planet with a battle cruiser, I think, or is it a battleship, and some battle cruisers and escort vessels. They're all coming to Avathon IV. Within 4 days, they will have begun their invasion of the planet. And yeah, it's going to be a tough 4 days to come. Organizing everything, making sure everyone is ready with their armaments and other forms of weapons. And I don't know if they have any tanks, or if they have any aircraft that can defend their airspace. I don't know, but hopefully they're able to make something within these 4 days that they can use to defend the planet from any type of invasionary force that might be coming in. And yeah, the Commissar is lucky to be on Avathon 4. You know, if it were any other planet, we don't know how things might have turned out. You know, if he was on a hive planet and, you know, that place was attacked, you know, people are going to, you know, cause chaos. They're going to try and destroy the leadership structure of the planet. It'll just be utter chaos. But because he's on such a very quiet and small town, civilization on this planet, you know, everything seems to be working quite well for him. So far, so good, you know, in terms of how the people are working with the Commissar. And yeah, guys, can't wait to see what happens in part 3. This was exciting. This was really, really exciting. Okay, that's it for tonight. Remember, if you want to check out the original video as well as Old Man Reacts YouTube channel, the links are in the description below. If you like my reaction, please give me a like, comment, and subscribe to my channel. Click on the notification bell if you want to be up to date with my latest videos. And I will see you guys next week. Okay? Bye-bye.